Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Olivia and today we're going to be talking about Bludfest 2026 and accessibility at music festivals. Hi guys, I just wanted to come on here and say before we get into the video, a lot of my videos are pre-recorded and recorded a good bit in advance. So since recording this, they have changed the wording on the website in regards to the assistance dogs, but I've kept everything in. I still think it's a really good conversation to have. I think it's a really important conversation to have. And apart from that, everything else on the website is still pretty much the same. So I just wanted to come on here and say that they have updated the wording, but I still think we need to talk about what it was previously and everything else. Thank you so much. For those of you who don't know, Bludfest is a music festival being run by singer-songwriter Youngblood and Grammy-nominated rock star from South Yorkshire. He preaches about accessibility and inclusivity for all within music. You might have seen him in the news recently. He's incredibly close with the Osbournes, especially after Ozzy's passing, and he's an activist. He's incredibly outspoken for LGBTQ rights, Black Lives Matter, and especially accessibility when it comes to music. He's been quoted in saying he wouldn't play a music festival that sells its tickets for over £800, and he's been incredibly critical of things like dynamic pricing. Because it's completely true that working class people are being priced out of music, and in previous years it would have been working class people who we have to thank for creating some of the best music we have today. The first ever Bludfest took place in 2024. It happened in Milton Keynes and hosted about 30,000 attendees. Tickets were priced at about £50 each, and it was meant to bring music to the masses. The second ever Bludfest took place last year in 2025, still hosted about 30,000 people. However, the tickets this time were about £65 to £125 in price. This year we're getting our third instalment of Bludfest, however this time it's taking place in the Czech Republic instead of Milton Keynes. This is where the first lot of controversy comes in. It's been heavily criticised the fact that the music festival is taking place in the Czech Republic, as the majority of Youngblood's fan base is probably based in the UK, which only makes it less accessible as people are then having to account for travel expenses to another country. However, Youngblood has been quoted in saying that he wants to bring Bludfest to multiple different countries throughout Europe and bring it to his European fans, so this could just be the first stage in him doing exactly that. Youngblood is someone who preaches constantly and at length about accessibility and inclusivity within music. So why then is there such a lack of accessibility within his own music festival? I just want to clarify before we go any further that this is not a hit piece for Youngblood. I'm not trying to bash anyone. I just want to open up the discussion to how can we make music actually more accessible for people. While I'm not a fan of Youngblood and his music's not really for me, I can completely understand and respect how his music has had such an impact on people's lives. He seems to have a really close-knit community of fans that I honestly love to see. I love that he has a tight-knit community around him that love going to his shows and feel safe going to his shows and feel safe in being themselves at his shows. I just want to look at the accessibility policy for Bludfest 2026 and discuss how we can make things more accessible, what we can change and what we can do better next time. The accessibility situation at Bludfest was first brought to my attention through an Instagram reel posted by the account Valerie's Voice. She made a super quick yet super in-depth and detailed deep dive into what the accessibility policies posted by Bludfest's own website actually meant for someone with accessibility needs. Her video was super clear and in-depth into what the policies actually meant. I'll have it linked below if you want to go and check it out, but that's what caught my attention. I didn't know a whole lot about Bludfest and I didn't know a whole lot about Youngblood either, except from the fact I knew that he preached about accessibility. So hearing her break down just how inaccessible the music festival was really shocking for me. My biggest compliment to Youngblood is the fact that the wheelchair accessibility looks phenomenal. It looks super accessible, the facilities look incredible, and I'm really impressed by it, honestly. I don't know what it's like for previous years. I have seen a couple of people saying that the wheelchair accessibility at previous iterations wasn't great, so I am hoping that this was an improvement upon that. It looks phenomenal. It looks really great, super accessible. I will give you your flowers on that. That is, however, where my compliments end. The first point of discussion I want to have is the food and drink available at the music festival and how there's seemingly a lack of coverage for basic allergies. All my information on this is coming straight from the Bludfest website. I'm not getting it from some dodgy source. On their website under the food and drink section it says that there's going to be plenty of food vendors that will be selling plant-based, meat-free, gluten-free, lactose-free options. However, no mention of very common food allergies like nuts or dairy. Lactose-free doesn't necessarily mean dairy-free. And they also state that you're not allowed to bring your own food into the festival, and that could be a massive issue for someone with diabetes or POTS. They say you can if you have a documented medical need, but that would have to be a doctor's note saying specifically that you would need to be able to bring your own food or drink into the festival. If you just have a doctor's note saying you have diabetes, that probably won't make the cut. The thing that caught my eye was the fact that you can't bring food into the festival grounds. I don't know what the laws are like over in the Czech Republic, but even for festivals like Glastonbury, you can bring your own food. For Leeds Fest, you can bring your own food. It seems like a very easy switch that they can make that would make it a whole lot more accessible for everyone. This is all in no particular order. I'm not going in order of what shows up on the accessibility policy. I'm just kind of going off of what caught my eye and what I want to talk about and things that stood out particularly to me. The elevated viewing platform was the next thing to kind of catch my eye. Again, it looks like it has a really good view. If you're in a wheelchair, you're pretty much sorted. However, the elevated viewing platform is exclusively and only for the use of those who use a mobility aid such as a wheelchair or a crutch or a cane. If you are someone who struggles standing for a long period of time, there's no seating area, there's no seating bank. Have fun. It feels like a massive oversight to me. I feel like it'd be a really easy fix just to have some chairs on the viewing platform or a small seating bank at least nearby. Again, it feels like a massive oversight at best. The biggest criticism I have for the festival, and the biggest criticism I've seen others have for the festival, is their policy around assistance dogs. This one feels particularly egregious to me and borders on illegal. Again, I don't know the rules and laws over in the Czech Republic, but if this festival were happening here, it's a slight wording change away from illegal. Bludfest's official assistance dogs policy is leave your four-legged friends at home, which I hope you can understand immediately the issues that come with that statement. The website tries to frame their policy on assistance dogs as though it's for the better health of the dog, instead of taking into account the needs of the person with the assistance dog. They frame it as though the hot heat will be bad for the dog and loud music isn't good for the dog, when really we should be prioritising the dog's handler's needs. There's not got an assistance dog just because they look cute. They've got an assistance dog because they need assistance. They try to suggest that you instead bring a human friend with you, and it just feels like such a massive oversight. A human friend might be able to help you in some scenarios, but in most cases, your human friend can't sniff out the allergens in your food. Your human friend can't sense if you've got a seizure coming on. People don't have assistance dogs just for the fun of it. They have them because assistance dogs are incredibly well trained to help in scenarios where someone needs assistance. It rubs me the wrong way entirely that they're suggesting you bring a friend who would have to buy a ticket, giving them more money, to the festival, and leave your assistance dog who could save your life at home. And again, they frame it as if it's for the health of the dog, but in actuality, all the things they listed are very easy fix. They list loud music as being an issue. You can get noise cancelling headphones specially made for dogs, and most people attending this music festival have probably attended countless gigs and music festivals with their assistance dog and might already have a pair of noise cancelling headphones. And the heat was another issue. Heat would also be an issue for humans, and if you had something like a sensory tent, that could be somewhere someone could go to cool down with their dog. It just feels like pretty much every aspect of the accessibility, apart from maybe the wheelchair accessibility, at this festival was extremely poorly planned. And for someone who preaches about accessibility, you'd think there would be a bit more foresight, but apparently not. There's an incredible lack of even very basic accessibility resources, such as there's no interpreters when, to my knowledge, there were at previous iterations of the festival, and there's no sensory tent when, again, to my knowledge, there were at previous iterations of the festival. It shocks me because, again, Youngblood is someone so outspoken about accessibility and inclusivity, and he himself is neurodivergent, so surely him and his team should understand the importance of having something like a sensory tent on site. A sentiment I keep seeing repeated is, oh, Youngblood doesn't choose the venue, the artist doesn't choose the venue. And while yes, that is the case for most artists on his level, for this, I think he is playing a much bigger role in the planning than we're giving him credit for. And also, this festival, like most, is taking place in a big empty space. They are bringing the stage, they're bringing the sound desk, they're bringing the lighting, they're bringing the camping facilities, they're bringing portaloos, they're bringing everything. There is nothing there, and for the length of the festival, there will be stuff there brought by the team. And it's in cases like that that I feel that if it's not accessible to all, it's almost entirely your own fault, because you're the one bringing everything. It's your job to make it accessible. If there's not accessible toilets, that's because you didn't bring them. If there's not accessible camping facilities, that's because you didn't make the effort to bring the camping facilities that would be accessible for all, and you didn't make it accessible. I just don't see how that's an excuse for it. Like, how are we remembering to bring lasers, but we're not remembering to bring, like, seats for people that can't stand for long periods of time? I just don't see how that's a valid excuse. I just don't see him attaching his name to something he wasn't playing a significant role in. Again, I'm not saying he's the only one setting the whole thing up. There's definitely a team backing it, but I don't think that he's completely blind to what's going on. In every interview about it, it's his plans for it, not the team's plans for it. I do think he is playing a significant role in the planning of the festival. I don't claim to be an expert on the subject, but I have been to countless gigs from the grassroots level all the way up to the festival and stadium level, and I am studying events management at university, so I'm not entirely clueless. Again, not an expert. But my advice for Bludfest or any other music festival, especially if they were suffering from the same accessibility issues as Bludfest, would be that there's countless easy fixes to a lot of these issues. With the food and drink, if we're looking at that, you can either let people bring their own food into the festival, which most festivals already do, or just make sure that you're having more accessible and allergy and intolerance friendly options. I know that they had a good couple listed, and maybe they do have nut-free options, but just having them listed on the website brings a lot of people peace of mind. For the raised seating platform, just having a nearby seating bank or seats on that same platform would be a massive difference in accessibility for everyone. Not everyone can stand for long periods of time, but they might not need a cane or crutches or a wheelchair, so just having seats as an option for those who may need it can be a massive help. When it comes to assistance dogs, it's as simple as just let people bring them. Don't try and discourage people from bringing them, and guys, it is, oh, it's for the dog's health, it's for the dog's safety. Let people bring their assistance dogs. It's so much safer to let someone bring their assistance dog and let them be warned if a seizure's coming on or they're about to eat a possibly deadly allergen than for them to leave the dog at home. You know, it's as simple as that. Let people bring the assistance dogs. And there's a lot of really easy, simple things to integrate that make everything a whole lot more accessible. Again, bring back the interpreters, bring back a sensory tent. This is a festival taking place in the Czech Republic. Having a couple sensory tents, maybe air-conditioned sensory tents, would be a massive difference for people. And again, I'm not saying it's the worst I've ever seen. By no means is it the worst I've ever seen. The wheelchair access looks incredible. It was clear there was a lot of foreplanning and foresight put into it. It looks like it'll be really, really good. But I think with a few small changes, we can make it a whole lot more accessible for everyone. And is that not the goal? To make music accessible for everyone? One thing I am sick of seeing though is people just saying, oh, just stay at home. Don't go. You don't need to go. I think that's a really unempathetic take. The solution is not just stay at home. The solution is not that people with a disability should just stay at home. The solution is that everything should be accessible for everyone. I don't see how the solution could possibly ever be just stay at home. I think in a lot of cases equity is a lot more effective than equality. Not everyone needs the same things and not everyone wants the same things. It's important, however, that everyone's accessibility needs are met. And I think with a few small changes to how our festivals and concerts are run, we can make everything a whole lot more accessible for everyone. Once again, this wasn't meant to be a call out or a hate post on anyone or anything in particular. I just wanted to open up the conversation and talk about what does accessibility truly look like at our music festivals and concerts, and what can we do to make it more accessible for everyone. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down below in the comment section, and if you have any horror stories, especially accessibility related at music festivals, I'd love to hear them as well. I think I'm going to wrap it up here for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name's been Olivia. If you want to hear more from me, you can find me over on Instagram under Live Through This Photos. I'm a gig photographer and a writer for Scottish and Northern Exposure. It's been so good talking about this. I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end. I hope to see you again soon. Bye!